Welcome back to another episode of Know Your Legacy. I'm your host, V, and today's guest is Marcos Jacoba. Marcos is the author of a book called Eat This, Mr. President. He was a former FedEx driver who turned millionaire through real estate using the Airbnb model and actually came over to the US only in 1998 with two things: $100 in his pocket and a lot of humility to learn to understand what it takes to get the American dream that he always thought about. So Marcus, thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Man, it's a pleasure to be here. And I want to commend you for the space that you create and the mission of getting people to know different ways and better ways to make a living.
100%, man. Most definitely. I think there's so much wisdom out there in the world right now with people like yourself and many others that not many people know about. And we're certainly not told about people like you in school, where, we're not using anyone's case study to understand what success means in different parts of the world. So I think it's important to have a platform that helps share that, because then it gets people to start thinking in different ways. Not all of us are privileged to travel, so we may not even get a chance to meet people like that. So it's good to have a platform for free on the internet, YouTube, Stitcher, as we were just saying, on iTunes, where they can leverage that knowledge now, because we are in an economy where everything can be shared, especially with, the internet. So everything's connected nowadays.
Yeah, we are definitely in what we call information era, right? And anything that you want to know, it's already online. Anything that you want to know, before you ask anyone, just you go into YouTube and you're going to find a way there. And when you brought up the education, it was funny because I was having a conversation with my 12-year-old son, and I'm actually trying to convince him to drop out of school. Something that would dream that my father could have offered me back in the days. I'm actually having to convince him. I said, dude, forget about school, don't forget about knowledge and learning things, but which is very important. But the school, it's obsolete. And I said, you don't need to be 6 hours inside the warehouse to learn things nowadays.
That is crazy, because you wouldn't hear any parents giving that advice to their kids, at least in London. It's not something that's done. So what drove you to how have you got so much confidence to tell your kid that?
Because I realized, like I said, I got to the United States with $100 in my pocket, and I don't have a college degree. I'm a product of the public schools, and I was a guy that I always studied to have a C or 50 or whatever grade was necessary for me to pass. Right? I never went beyond that, and yet most of the time I see myself teaching and talking. And I say this very rambly to guys that have MBAs and master degrees and college, and how they can make money. It's mind-boggling. And nowadays, with the share economy especially, the way people are making money has changed. And the reason why people value education so much is because we went from the agriculture era, where back in the days, your grandfathers have to live off the land. And if you remember back in the days, family was the biggest asset, right? That's why they had 12 kids, 15 kids, 20 kids, right? Because an extra boy would mean an extra set of arms helping dad taking care of the land. And an extra girl would mean mom will have more help. And that's the reason why, and I'm not saying this in any racist way, boys were more valuable than girls, right? Then from the agricultural era, we transformed into the industrial era. And that's when people started leaving the farms and the countryside and migrate to the city. And now what used to be an asset became a liability. So I better teach this kid how to make money, otherwise, we're screwed, right? And that's why you see families shrinking from 20, 15, 12 to now 2 or 3 or 4, because now the kids became a liability. And then from the industrial area, we went to the digital era, where you see kids, 12, 13, 14 years old, building a website and an app and becoming billionaires overnight, aka Steve Jobs, aka Zuckerberg, right? Bill Gates, right? And then now people still thinking we are in a digital era, but we are actually an informational era where anything that you want to learn, it's already available online. And as a matter of fact, by 2025, uh, every cell phone will have an official artificial intelligence unit on it, where all the content all the way into high school is going to be stored in your phone. It's kind of like that. All you have to do is ask Google or ask Siri or Alexa. But now we're going to have all the content of the entire curriculum all the way to high school in your phone, which it tells me that schools it has been obsolete and is still obsolete. If you think about it, how do we used to communicate 100 years ago? There was no smartphones. How do you communicate now? In the school 100 years ago is the same system as it is right now.
It's very true.
Nothing has changed.
No, it's very true, because even with things like homework and doing assignments and tests and exams, you're taught to memorize things, and it doesn't make sense to do
Not
that
to learn.
when you can Google the answer. So why don't you learn real life skills like problem solving, thinking, pattern
Or
recognition?
maybe how to raise your credit score.
Yeah,
What do you
exactly.
learn about finances? What do you learn about compound investment? Why you didn't learn how to start a business? You know, it's funny. Uh, they are very comfortable in giving an 18-year-old $100,000 in school loans, but they don't trust the 18-year-old with $100,000 business loan.
Hmm. It's true. They've
There's a
got,
reason for that.
yeah, it's a college is a business, right?
College is a business, and they need the workforce. If everybody becomes an entrepreneur, then who's going to work for them?
It's true. Yeah. You only realize that once you start the journey of education on your own, because that's not something that they're going to tell you. It's not something that you even think about until you're unhappy with your life and you start searching for answers, which is what I've done. And you look back at the history of why the schooling system was started, who started it, why it was started. And it's for those reasons that they needed a workforce for the factories. So let's just put them through school, teach them basic skills, and then get them out into the world. And then obviously, college comes around and milks you even further, because they make you need a degree and a master's and a PhD and all of those things. But no,
I like to say that the A student is going to be the teacher. The B student is going to work for the C student.
that's a good way to put it. But so what in terms of like your background then, because I know you haven't been in the US for your whole lifetime. You were in Brazil, if I remember correctly. What was life like in Brazil growing up for you? Because you described that whole thing about being a son and not really needing school and growing up in maybe a family business back in the day. What was it like for you?
No. Actually, I was raised by a single mom. I
Okay.
never met my dad. I met my dad when I was 22 years old for only a couple of hours. Growing up in Brazil, poor in a third world country, had a lot of challenges, which is actually I'm glad for, because it brought me a different perspective of things and how you can build resilience and how you can look at any problem and try to figure out how can you make that work. Okay. I migrated to the United States when I was 23 in pursuit of the American dream, and actually growing up in Brazil around all those challenges, it gave me a edge. It gave me a perspective where I can see things differently than any Native American, right? Because for the most part, they take a lot of things for granted, and that's why if you are an immigrant and you listen to this right now, no matter where you are, you have uh, an advantage and an edge uh, against anybody that was born and raised in that land, right? Uh, and the reason why I say that, how come a guy that comes from a foreign country with $100 in the pocket can become a millionaire, 4 to 5 years later, and there's people that spend their lifetime here, they still go broke, right? And you got to have an advantage, and you got to have a, you know, a different way of looking things.
Yeah, so a lot of people do talk about that, having that as the advantage point, which is coming from nothing, almost coming from a struggle. So, what was the struggle like for you? Could you remember like some of the memories that stay with you when you think back about those days?
Yeah, so I would like to some of those memories. I work very hard to wipe them off out of my brain. But I remember perhaps walking almost, you know, 5 miles to go to school every day because my mom could not afford, you know, the bus ticket. I remember wearing shoes that on the bottom was those big holes, right? And I remember one day at PT class, I tried to kick a ball and I fell on the ground, and people were able to see the size of the holes that I have in my shoes and bully me. And I believe that's why, you know, I think subconsciously I made a decision that I'm never gonna live like this again, and that set me on the course of, you know, to become who I am right now. So if you are going through some tough times right now, you can be sad about it, you can be depressed about it, or you can use that energy to fire your engines up and create a different reality.
Yeah, I love that because it's always something that has to happen that pushes you to the edge for you to then, get up and I guess stand up for yourself to think, I want to do something that's not good, that's going to push me away from ever having to face this challenge again or to face this negative situation again. But it's all character building. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's made you who you are today. So when you look back, I can only assume you're grateful for that, because a lot of successful people talk
100%.
about, yeah, everyone talks about you going through that. At the time, it doesn't feel good because you don't see the bigger picture, right? You don't see how is this going to help me. Like you all you want to do is get out of that situation. So now that you've moved away from that, I'm sure you look back and you're grateful for it. But that age, was it 11, 12, 13? What are we talking?
Yeah, I was 11, 12 years old, yes.
Okay, fine. So what happened
And I
between then?
remember, and I remember, and I remember starting my work life early. I remember, you know, getting my first job when I was 9 years old. You know, not making a lot of money, but I always had that sense of being independent because I knew my mom was struggling to make ends meet, and I have a choice. I either gonna be here passively waiting for this woman to give the best thing that she can give, and by far is way different and less than everybody else around me has, or I can take responsibility and take matters on my own hand and just do what I have to do, you know. And that's why I made a decision without my mom knowing. I got my first job when I was 9 years old, and you know, I'm being an entrepreneur since I know myself as a person. Let's put it that way. And always looking, I always had that hunger inside me, looking for more, to better myself up, right? To do business, to create uh, something. You know, I always in pursuit of that dream, and maybe that's what led me. That's what not maybe that's what got me to United States. You know, and when you are able to migrate to a different country, it's like being in the United States versus Brazil is like going downstream with a speedboat versus in Brazil you're trying to swim upstream with an anchor on your ankles. You know what I mean? Uh, so that's why I was able to. I got here with $100, like I said, and 15 months later, I had my own business with 13 employees. And I don't speak very good English, as you can see. Back then was way worse than that. So actually, my employees are the ones who taught me how to speak English. I never went to school in the United States. Never went to study English. Uh, but you know, I was able to build four successful businesses in US, and life's good. The American dream exists.
I love that. I love that. So that's crazy though. You got your employees to teach you how to speak English. So I want to I want to get into when you started the first business, but just before we do, what drove you to finally leave at 20, was it 22, 23? Because you spent like, you know, your life up to that point working, doing your first job at 9, and grinding it out for, you know, 10 plus years. What was the thing that made you say, right, I'm going now. I have to book the ticket. I have to go. I don't know how to speak English. I don't know what business I'm going to start, but I know it's there.
Yeah, it was pain, right? So people only do things for two different reasons. That's only two reasons that guides any decision that we made. If we drill down, we're going to come to the bottom of those two reasons. Number one is to avoid pain, and number two is to feel significant. Right? Any decision that you make, or any decision making process is guided by those two reasons. So in my case, I want to avoid pain, pain of not being able to grow, pain of not being able to, even though I was a hardworking guy, I was in an environment that didn't reward entrepreneurship. It didn't give you opportunities to grow. It didn't give you opportunities to build your own business. So I had no other option than leave. The pain of staying there was greater than the pain of going to a foreign country with no money, without the language, without the basic skills, not knowing what to do. I had all kinds of different jobs. I work in a restaurant. I work in construction. Uh, you know, at one time I had three jobs, working 90 hours a week. You know, to save money. So yeah, so that's what made me leave.
That's crazy. You know, I'm glad you touched on that because it gives people a reason, or not reason, but insight as to why they make the decisions that they do on a day-to-day basis. Most of it is subconscious, like running away from pain or going towards the pleasure of feeling significant in some shape or form. Um, for you, obviously, you said it was pain, but once you got here, the first business that you started? Because you were working jobs to get by and to figure out what you wanted to do. Was the first business Airbnb, or did you have something before that as well?
No, no, no. I work in the construction. So I came here and realized there's only three pillars to build wealth, right? And if you're listening right now, you better take notes. Number one, you gotta have your own business. I never met anybody that became millionaire working for somebody else. Okay. Number two is you gotta invest in stocks, right? And number three is real estate. Real estate is the number one pillar that produces most millionaires around the world. So in 2018, just the United States, we have about 850,000 people that become millionaires. We had 850,000 new millionaires in US in 2018. 75% of them started with the real estate. Okay, so my very first business, I was a chef. I had my own restaurant, Italian restaurant in New Jersey. So and I got that opportunity because I knocked in somebody else's door to work for free, because I valued knowledge so much that I realized early on that if I learned how to cook, I could get a better job than the one that I had it before. So I knocked in somebody else's restaurant and said, hey, would you allow me to work for free because I want to learn? So that guy was a very unhappy business owner. He's been with the restaurant for 14 years and he had a lot of money, but he didn't have time to spend his money and to enjoy his money. So he offered me the opportunity to learn, and later on, he offered me the opportunity to buy him out, which I did, and that set the whole thing on the course. By 2000, I started investing in real estate. Traditionally, if you read a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Of course, yeah.
Right, you still have it?
Yes.
Burned it. It's not good for you anymore. So I read the book. I started investing in real estate traditionally, and now you're about to learn the smart debt strategy. Okay, in 2004, 2007, I have 12 properties. I foreclosed on every single one of them. If you remember what happened, no, I have 17 properties, foreclosed in 16 in 2007. Have to go back to drive a truck for FedEx. which I did for 14 years. And I discovered another way to, and I can come back here in a different podcast and talk about, I discovered the two best investment strategies in US. One of them, you can make up to 50% return guaranteed by law. And number two, you can I can show you how you can buy properties for $50 and turn around and sell them for $10,000, $20,000, $100,000. As a matter of fact, I was able to purchase a property that's worth $1.7 million, and I pay $6,342.79. That's a different strategy. We can come back and talk more about that later, which is called tax liens and tax deeds. That's how I made my fortune. And recently, I was able to change all the notion of consumption and ownership by starting my Airbnb business only 15 months ago without buying a single property. That's what I'm saying. If you have the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, burned it. Those are old strategies, amazing book, but the times has changed. So you don't have to, the old cash flow mentality of, I'm going to buy a property, I'm going to finance it, and I'm going to rent to someone else. They're going to pay me my rent. I'm going to pay all the bills, and I'm going to have a couple of $100 left. That's the cash flow strategy. It doesn't work anymore. I mean, it does work, but that's equivalent of driving a 1975 Volkswagen Beetle versus a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. And the Lamborghini side of it is you can start making money from real estate right now without owning a single property. And if you think about it, that's the biggest barrier for anybody that wants to do real estate. And remember, this is the best pillar to produce wealth, real estate. If you can remove that barrier, okay, of entry, where you have to put a down payment, you have to have a good credit, you have to sign a mortgage and pay that thing over 30 years, and you can start cashing flowing right now. And I can show you how you can cash flow I'll say $3,000 to $5,000 in the next 180 days without buying a piece of property. That's gold. So we started implementing that strategy 15 months ago. Right now we're running about 39 listings. And first quarter of 2019, I made $380,000 just in the first quarter of 2019. Today is the first day, it's April 1st, right?
Yep.
All right, let me show you something. I'm going to get my Airbnb app right here. I know you are recording this. This is a day first. Can you read it? What it says there?
55. Yeah, you just swiped, but it was 55,102. Yeah,
and this is the first. And this is the first day of April.
That's one day's amount.
I started the first day of April with already $55,000.
That's crazy.
We still have another 30 more days.
Yeah, that's crazy. So look, okay, so what you said, everything's like, it sounds great to the person who's listening, 18, 19, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, wherever they are. As you said, being in Brazil felt like swimming upstream. And it's easier for you to make to do what you're doing in the US. Fair enough. But there's people who are swimming upstream in the US because not everyone is living like you, even though the opportunity is in the same country. So if someone's listening and they listen to your advice of putting Rich Dad Poor Dad to the side, all right, I'm going to look into Airbnb. I don't want to own anything. I have a small amount of money. How do they start? Well, break it down.
All right. So let me just correct you on one thing. They're not swimming upstreams. If you are in the US right now and you listen to me, we are both in the same river. Make sense?
Okay.
The thing is, we just need to change your belief systems, and you can start looking around and see the sea of opportunity that's out there. Okay? And that's the 180 shift, so we can all go downstream together. The good thing about this strategy, about this Airbnb, and share economy is here to change everything. Okay? For instance, I just got myself a nice Aston Martin Rapide, $270,000 car, and due to the share economy, I'm able to drive that car for free. I can drive my dream car for free and still make money from it. All I have to do is go on Turo and rent that car for 5 days. I pay for the car and I still make another $2,000, and I can drive the car 26 days for free. If I rent the car for 26 days, I'm going to make a lot of money. That opportunity didn't exist before. If you live in a place where you have electrical scooters around, you can make anywhere from $5 to $10 a day just by taking one scooter home and charging it. Oh, but one scooter is not going to make any difference. Well, what's preventing you to take 30 to bring home 40? It takes 3 hours to charge. And those are propositions that you can leverage, right? You can leverage the results. So you don't want to you don't want to drive Uber because you exchange time for money, but you can get a Toyota Corolla, finance that, where your payment is going to be $200 a month, and you can rent that car for $30 a day and make perhaps $1,200 a month. How many cars can you rent versus how many cars can you drive? You see, it's a different proposition. You can actually babysit dogs in your home right now for $25 to $45 a dog. You put 10 dogs in your home, it's $450 a day, and you can still do some work in your computer and leverage your time and learn more stuff. So that's what I'm saying. If you make less than $50,000 a month, you should quit your job and look into the share economies, because there's way better opportunities out there for you to leverage your time and make money, right? When it comes to Airbnb, it's the same thing. So this principle, it's very simple. And I borrowed this principle from options, right? So I have a friend that he does a lot of stocks investment, and he was telling me one time about options. So on option trading, you make money by renting the option, the stock, I'm sorry. You make money by renting the stock without buying the stock. So you are actually borrowing and renting the stock, and you make the spread between the time that you rent the stock, if it goes up or down, right? You never buy the stock. You don't own the asset. And I got myself thinking, how can I bring that concept into real estate? Because up to now, we are thought to believe, if you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, you know that we have to own the damn thing. I'm not picking at Kiyosaki. Okay, he's my mentor. I was part of his mastermind, so I know the guy very well. We are taught that in order to make money from real estate, you need to rent it, you need to own it. And that's not true. So basically, the Airbnb the Boss principle is: I go in. Let's say you have I'm going to use one bedroom apartment as an example to keep things very simple. One bedroom apartment, $1,000 a month. Okay. So utilities is going to be $250. So total cost is $1,250 a month. It cost me about $4,000 to furnish that apartment. So it's $4,000 investment. I can rent that apartment for, let's say, $100 a day. I rent 25 days out of the month, 90% occupancy, and brings me $2,500 minus $1,250 expenses, and gives me a cash flow of $1,250. I do this for 3 months. I pay back my investment. The rest is gravy, and I keep moving on and on and on, and adding more and more and more and more properties. So this is in a nutshell, what the time allows us to explain to the listeners what is the Airbnb the Boss concept and what is Airbnb. You can actually right now make money without building Airbnbs. You can go and offer to another Airbnb owners to become their host. You can be a co-host for their Airbnbs and help them managing the listings that they have. And you can make 10% gross of the revenue. So each Airbnb can bring you anywhere from $300 to $400 a month. You have 10 Airbnbs, you bring home $4,000 a month, without having any Airbnbs. So there's a lot of different ways, guys, that you guys can create financial freedom and income. And if you think about it, the less money you make, the easier it is to become financially free.
Yeah, because to hit the number,
yeah. Let that sink in for 1 second.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense though, because then you only have to do a certain amount to reach the number, which is a lot more doable and manageable than, let's say, 50 grand a month, you know?
There you go. But on the other hand, if you make 50 grand a month, you also have more capital to invest that's going to bring your freedom faster. Make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Makes a ton of sense. So the is this something that's you can leverage anywhere? You don't have to be in the US.
No, yes, you can actually, Airbnb, it's available in 192 countries. It's changing the way people travels. So Airbnb in 2018 made $2 billion. By 2022, they projecting to make 22 billion dollars. So they're going to grow 20 billion by 2022. And the good thing is they're only going to be able to reach that number if people like you and me provide listings. If we list properties on Airbnb, so it's a growing market. Airbnb right now is the largest hotel chain in the world without owning a single property. Okay, and 85. And get this, 85% of the $22 billion is paid back to the hosts. So 85% of that pie is going to go to you and me. Okay, so and you can do not only you can do this anywhere in the world. I run properties in 5 different states in 9 different cities without even going there, because there's 3 steps for you to master a business. You have to have the knowledge, you have to have the systems, and you have to have the process. Once you get all three, that what allows me to run, to make almost $400 in 3 months. And guess what? I work only 2.5 hours on that business.
Yeah, to most people, that's a dream you're describing right there for them. But it's about mastering those 3 areas, as you said, and you need someone to tell you how to do it properly. Otherwise, I guess you'd lose a lot of money. Did you have a mentor in any of that process at all, or did you learn it all yourself?
No, actually, the Airbnb, I have a course called Airbnb the Boss, and people can look at it at marcusjacober.com or lifehackswealth.com. So what I did was, when I had that idea about the Airbnb, I rent my first property and launch it. Went through all the phases. 2 months later, I launched my second one. 2 weeks later, I launched my third one. Then I locked myself inside my office and said, how can I systemize this thing? How can I have properties all over the world and I don't have to be there to greet people? I don't have to be there to give them the keys. I don't have to be there to check them in and out. I don't have to be there to clean. I don't have to be there to stock the place. So in 48 hours, I developed this system called Airbnb the Boss, and I tested it out. And 15 months later, I have 39 units, and I manage myself 25 units, and I'm a very busy guy, trust me. And I manage myself 25 units, and if you follow that system to the T, you can have 25 units, and it's only going to take you 4 hours a week of your time to manage those 25 units, and you can make $1,000 a pop on average.
Is there any downside? People are probably thinking, right, this is too good to be true. It's good for him, he's got it. But is there any catch, any downside that people need to look out for?
Well, it can be overwhelmed sometimes if you don't have the systems, right? So trust me, you don't need me or you don't need any training program to make money on Airbnb. You can rent a spare bedroom that you have in your apartment in your house right now, and you can have that spare bedroom paying your rent, and you have no housing cost whatsoever. Okay, you don't need any systems to make money on Airbnb. The same way that you don't need any recipe to build a burger. You know how to cook a burger. It's no brainer. It's a piece of meat, a patty, in the middle of a bun. That's a burger. And you can put lettuce, you can put bacon, you can put cheese or whatever, right? Very simple. However, if you want to build a McDonald's, you better have some systems. Make sense?
Yep.
So if you start where you are right now in what you have, uh, and once you see that this is a growing business, once you have your first reservation, right, you will see that, and I'm happy to send you a link where I build an Airbnb 24 hours, and 24 hours later I have $3,300 worth of reservations. Um, it's not a rocket science.
Yeah. I think it's
The,
just as
the
you.
good
Yeah. Go on.
the good thing about Airbnb, you got to think about this. If you're gonna if you're gonna open up a business nowadays, right? You need to have a website. You need to have a communication system. You need to have a marketing. You need to have a designer. You need to have a back office that's gonna manage all your finances. You need to have a software that's gonna run your calendar, right? So those are the things that you need in order to launch any successful business. Is that right or wrong?
Yep.
And if you think about it, most platforms of share economy, and let's say Airbnb, Turo, or so far so on, they give you all the overhead. It's already there, and they only charge you 3%. So Airbnb gives me a website that over 1 million people goes every day. Airbnb gives me the messaging system to talk to the guests. Airbnb gives me the back office to manage my transactions and my finances. Airbnb gives me a system that tracks my calendar. Airbnb gives me the marketing investment that's needed to bring 1 million people every day to the site, right? And they only charge me 3% for it. The only thing I need to do is to provide the listings. That's it. And you are already in business.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because they've already given you the platform. It's similar to eBay. Like you don't have to have your own website, and you've got the customers coming to you already. Similar to Amazon FBA. I mean, there's different platforms to do all of this stuff. You just have to know it exists and put some time into learning it.
That's it. So there's no more excuse. And I gotta tell you guys, for your listeners out there, this is not the industrial revolution where make the Rockefellers who they are, the Hiltons who they are, but you are now living in the best era to create financial freedom. And if you make 10, 15, 20 bucks an hour, uh, you're missing out, because it's all it takes is the guts to set something up that you can have enough oxygen, or build something on the side that can definitely give you the freedom that you want. Forget about becoming a millionaire, right? So your first goal, check this out. Your first goal is to achieve S. Okay? So S means safety. Everybody has a number. They're interviewing me in this amazing podcast, you have a number. And the number is exactly how much money you make every day, or every month, or every week. That number determines what house you live in, what car you drive, what clothes you wear, how many times you travel. That's your number. Think about that number right now. 95% of people make less than $5,000 a month. Watch this. Your number one goal is not to become a millionaire, is to be an S, which is the first step. So you need to create a passive income and find a strategy that will bring you $5,000 a month, if that's your number. Once you do that, you're already financially free. Which means is you don't have to go to that lousy job that you hate in order to pay your bills. You're not rich, you don't drive a Ferrari, you don't have a Louis Vuitton purse, but you're free. To me, you're a millionaire because you have the most valuable asset in the world, which is time. That we all have less each day. Now you're going to use the same strategy that took you from going from 0 to S to go to the second step, which is C. You know what C stands for?
No, what does it stand for?
Comfort. If you make $5,000, now let's make 10. Let's make 15. Let's make $400,000 in the first quarter on Airbnb. That's comfort. you're going to utilize the same strategy, but you don't want to stay there because comfortable is dangerous. Do you have plants at home?
Sorry?
Do you have plants? Any type of plants?
Yes.
If the plants are not growing, they are
Dying.
if the plants, they're dying. In nature, there's no comfort. Things are either growing or dying. Are you part of nature?
Most definitely, yes.
Maybe the same principle applies to you. Comfort is dangerous.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Then you're going to continue to use the same strategy. And then from C, you're going to go to A/L. A is for abundance and L is for luxury. Don't go just for luxury, go for abundance. Abundance means you are rich in all areas of your life, not just money-wise. I know people that they have so much money, they're so rich that the only thing they have is money, nothing else. Okay? Now you can make $100,000 a month, $200,000 a month, $300,000 a month, even though it's very inconceivable for most people. When I'm now thinking about, hey, I want to make $500,000 a month on Airbnb. Now I know it's doable because last month I just made 120,000. All I have to do is keep doing the same thing that I'm doing now, and I'm going to get there. So the most difficult part to get people to is not the abundance and luxury, is to the safe part, because everything is limited. Capital is limited, time is limited, and you have limited beliefs. Once you launch your first room on Airbnb and you bring that $70, $80, $40, oh my God, this thing works. Once you get on average, my students, when they launch their property, on average, their first reservation comes under 40 minutes. You're 40 minutes away to have your first happy customer.
Yeah, when you put it like that, it just markets itself. In under an hour, you can start bringing customers in. But yeah, now go on.
That's the era that we live in.
It's true, and you've just.
And I hope I got you guys inspired.
Yeah, you know, most definitely you did. I don't know about anyone else, but you got me inspired just because of the energy of where you've come from, how you've leveraged that to make it into what it is today, and you're only gonna 10x it and keep going. And as you admitted as well, you didn't come with much. You haven't got PhD. You haven't got years of experience in business. It's just something you started. You wanted to do it. Drive, hunger, passion, whatever you want to call it, and then you just learn along the way. So. For those who are listening, just for final few questions, just on the fun side, what do you remember the day when you made your first million? What did it feel like knowing that you came with $100?
Well, if you put it that way, I made my first million 3 times in life, right? And I don't think that the time will allow for us to go over this whole thing. As a matter of fact, I wanna give you a gift and all your listeners a gift as well. I'm gonna send you a link that everybody who's listening to this podcast can get my full, free copy of my book, right? It's on Amazon now for $20, but you can get it for free.
I appreciate that, yeah.
And then you can learn a little bit more about my history. And so I did my first million when I had my 17 properties, and I lost it all when I foreclosed in 16 of them. I did my second million when I built my FedEx business that I worked for 14 years. And a guy stole my business and made me lose $2.5 million, right? That was the second time. And the third time was when I started doing tax liens and tax deeds. And I went from a truck driver to a millionaire in 4 years. And now the fourth time was, in little under 15 months, we create a $1.3 million business, right? So the Airbnb now, we're making average $400K a quarter. Now it's 1.2, it's a $1.6 million business right now. 1.6 million, right? And that's the fourth time. But throughout my journey, even though in the beginning I was chasing the money all the time, and the more I chased the money, the more the money ran away from me. Okay, and I realized that the focus should not be in the money; it should be in myself and how I grow as a person. Okay. And now I'm less interested in the amount of money that I make, but I'm more interested in what type of person I need to become in order to make that money. So, for instance, I haven't made $20 million yet. You know why?
Why?
Because I don't know how.
You haven't
If I
invested
knew,
in yourself enough.
no, yes. If I knew, I would have done it.
Yeah, most
And
definitely.
if you're listening right now, you haven't made $1 million yet because you don't know how. Because if you knew, you would have made $1 million.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it takes a different kind of person to make $20 million than to make $5 million. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm in pursuit of to become that person. And once I become that person, it's not the money. The day I become that person, I already made $20 million. It's just a matter of time.
It's the character. You have to become the character. That's what you invest in.
So you have to switch things around. Stop chasing the money, chase the knowledge. And I have two ways to get to $20 million. I can even try to figure it out myself, which is I have tried to do my entire life. I'm 44 years old and I haven't done it. Or I can shortcut it by having a mentor or finding someone else that's already there or surpassed that can shortcut my time in order to get there.
Yeah, most definitely. Mentors are a big thing, even for me, for people who have listened to my journey in terms of starting the podcast, networking, and reaching out to people to build a brand of influence. Having someone there just is so much easier to just gain their wisdom of 20, 30 years in one go, in one sitting, rather than going through the 20, 30 years yourself. Because as you said, time is your most valuable asset. Why would you waste it if someone else has got the knowledge already, So paying for that is invaluable in the end, just to have it, access to it immediately. So I like that you touched on that. The second thing, just before we wrapped up, I wanted to ask you, well, what does your day-to-day life look like now? Because obviously it must be drastically different to the days when you're working 90-hour weeks and 3 or 4 jobs.
Yes, definitely. So now I can tell you that I'm a very fulfilled guy, not because of the money that I made, but because part of my mission is to empower and teach and inspire others to do the same thing. That's going to be my legacy. My legacy is not on my bank account. It's how many lives I can touch and inspire. Okay, so there's not a one day that I don't wake up excited to do what I do, because I do what I love. And once you realize and you start doing what you love, you're not working a day in your life. And the part that gets me moving the most is because with all this financial freedom kind of thing, is because there's so many people out there that have a different passion other than what they're doing and than what they're working on, but they have to work to pay the bills. They have to work to pay rent. They have to work to pay cars. They have to work. And that's why everywhere we go, service is shitty. Service is not good, because, people they're there because they have to be there, not because they want to be there. Right. And imagine for 1 second, and maybe that's my mushroom trip, if you will live in a world where everybody do what they love. Right? So maybe your thing is not to become a real estate investor or a real estate Mongol. Maybe your thing is to perhaps you love to become a kindergarten teacher, and you are the best kindergarten teacher that can ever, be, but you're preventing from doing that because you don't make enough money by being a kindergarten teacher, and you gotta work someplace else to pay your bills. What if you use those amazing strategies to give you passive income, and now you are free to become the best kindergarten teacher that you wanted to be? Maybe you want to become a nurse. Maybe you want to become a doctor. Maybe you want to be, a truck driver. Maybe you enjoy driving trucks. But imagine if we can take the financial pressure, the finances out of the equation, and you can do what you want because you love. Most people think they love what they're doing, and I'm going to leave your audience with this question. If you're not sure if you love what you do, ask yourself this. If there's no money involved, we don't show up on Monday.
It's a powerful
And
question.
if the answer is no, finding strategies to create a financial freedom and go pursue your passion.
I love that. Normally, I would ask the final few questions, and one of them being about the legacy you want to leave behind. But you've covered it already, so I think this just the feeling I'm getting. It's a good time to wrap it up. So, if people want to find out more about you and your journey and everything that you're going to be doing, where's the best place for them to follow you or find you?
Okay, perfect. So we are going through a little bit of branding shift right now, but you can also look for marcosjacober.com, www.marcosjacober.com. You can also look at, we have a YouTube channel where you can go to Life Hacks Wealth, and you're gonna see I have this amazing journey. I bought an RV, and I'm traveling the United States, stopping city from city, town to town, and teaching people how to build Airbnbs, how to invest in tax liens and tax deeds, how to buy properties for $50, and you can follow me on that journey. Of course, I have Marcos Jacober on Instagram, Life Hacks Wealth, Instagram and Facebook, and I'm going to definitely send you the link so people can download my book for free.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your wisdom and your journey. It's been amazing, and we definitely have to do another one sometime soon.
Oh, I'm glad, man. Just hit me out anytime. And once again, I can tell that you actually found your passion. Keep on doing this. And it's funny because UIM, and then we're gonna finish with this. One day he says, and I watched one of his interviews that he was talking to his mom. He was like, I think 15 or 17. And he was all into music and this and that. And his mom looked at him and said, "Hey, Will, isn't it time for you to start getting a job or thinking about getting a job?" And he looks at his mom and said, "Mom, I already find a job. I'm just not getting paid yet." So, and Will.i.am is who he is right now, right?
Yeah. No, exactly.
I think his mom is very proud of.
Yeah, it's safe to say his mom's proud of him. But yeah, no, I appreciate the humble words. It definitely is a passion. It's something that I lose track of. And another thing, just to wrap up, is not just to ask the question of would you still do it if money wasn't involved. The other thing is, what do you do? When you're doing a certain task, do you lose track of time? Because if you're losing track of time and you're fully present, like I am with every single episode, I lose track of time. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours can go by and it doesn't matter. When you're fully present, you're not thinking about the past, you're not thinking about the future, you're in this moment. That's when you know you found it, because you're fully paying attention.
Yeah, you told me that this is gonna last 15 minutes, and here we are talking for an hour and 15 minutes. And I could have kept going, and that's what you said. It's just to solidify the example that you brought it up, because here I am, both of us, we are on the flow, obviously doing something that we have passion about.
Yeah, no, exactly, man.
We're definitely gonna have to do this over again.
Part 2, 3, 4, 5, and possibly in person as well, man. Most definitely.
Yeah. So check this out, and I'm gonna let you guys go after this because I have a plan to catch. The last webinar I did, and one of the topics that I'm really passionate about, it lasts 12 hours and 45 minutes, and I only lost 3% of my audience. So I can talk.
That's scary. I thought I talked a lot, but yeah.
And my next challenge would be I wanna give. I'm preparing to give a real estate webinar that's gonna last 24 hours straight.
Wow. Okay. Perfect. Well, let me know the details when you're getting close to that. I'll put it out to the audience.
Perfect. And I just did in February was my birthday. I did February Madness. It was the entire month of training every single day for free. I did a webinar series. First week was about credit. Second week was about share economy. Third week was about Airbnb. And fourth week was about tax liens and tax deeds. So I'm going to send you the link. You can share with your audience. They can watch the replay. But it was almost 30 days of free training every single day, about an hour and a half a day. It was very fun.
That's amazing. Yeah, there's going to be a whole load of education in there. It's probably going to be worth more than college put together. So, but yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Nicholas, if you're listening to this podcast, please listen to your daddy. Don't go to school.
Yeah, listen to your dad. But yeah, no, let's wrap this one up, and I look forward to the next one, bro.
Appreciate it, man. It was a pleasure.